Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to Eagle Chat and learning about transfer services. Most people who come to HCC do transfer to a larger four-year college, university. And welcome and thank you for coming. My name is Jana Weiss. I'm the Global Online Student Life Coordinator, and we have some wonderful people here with us today to talk about transfer services. We have Paul Ash, Pamela Walls. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So I'm going to hand this over to y'all and let y'all start talking about transfer services and everything that you do to help these students.
Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. Let's get
And we also
started.
have Mr. Ortiz. He's the specialist for the Central Campus. So good morning, everyone. And so again, I am Ms. Walls. I am the University Transfer Coordinator for the Central Campus. And then we also have Mr. Ortiz, who is the specialist for the Central Campus. So the services that we are providing are to help students guide them as far as, where they want to transfer to and with the transfer application process. And we try to help them relate to what they're studying here to wherever you're transferring to that particular degree program. We do also recommend that you meet with an academic advisor to ensure that you are on the correct degree plan and to make sure that you're meeting the grade point average requirements for whatever university that you are transferring to. So we can look at the transfer requirements for whatever program and university that you plan to transfer to. And then if you are not quite where you need to be as far as your grade point average is concerned, what we'll do is suggest that you meet with your academic advisor to help you determine whether or not you should retake any classes over. And then also, we have the articulation agreements on the transfer page website, but more or less we will go on the university's website and look at those agreements and then just kind of help you and guide you along the way from there.
Okay, so to kind of summarize our services, because the why is an important part, right? Do you know why you're going to college? Do you know where you're going? Do you know what the requirements are? And that can be kind of summarized in our services in a way. We kind of walk you through the entire university application process. Sometimes it's very short. It's just do an application on Apply Texas, send over your documents, pay the fee, and then wait anxiously, right? But some of them are a little bit more extensive. Some programs require you to do a personal statement. So since I'm Paul, I'm at the Coleman, and I also service the online students. So I work with a lot of people applying to nursing programs. So nursing programs, they have a special personal statement kind of giving you an opportunity to explain what happened if you didn't have a good couple of semesters, right? It kind of gives you, the student, the ability to kind of really vocalize what you really want to, that your transcript just unfortunately can't, right? Ordering the official transcript, just to have this said, a lot of students get stumped. If you just Google HECS transcripts, you're going to get to the right parchment page. You do have to send one out to each university you attend, and it must be official. Unofficial is just for the conversational purposes. Okay. As mentioned, sometimes the degree plans here sound like the right program. But when you really dig into the requirements using the transfer guides, you'll realize wait, we have a banking associates here, but I want to do finance here. Why don't they match? Because they have two different intended purposes. And then lastly, the last two I think are really strong things we bring to the table is if we can't answer the question, well, that's okay. We have university recruiters that can. So we're really here in a nutshell to provide as much support as we possibly can before really, in a nice way, helping you kind of transition on. And so some of the events that we do, it changes per semester. So the big thing for this semester is we are having transfer fairs in March and April. So these are some of the events that we have had in the past. Mostly we're just going to focus on transfer fairs this semester. The others will come soon. We are planning some field trips potentially in the future. That would give you an opportunity to go and visit the actual campus. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because most of these are just kind of explaining the events. So we're going to kind of skip, and give you an opportunity to take down our contact information. And then we'll just kind of field any questions that you may have.
So we do have early application seminars coming up pretty soon, and they should be posted in Career Hub. And so those are for the universities whose their applications are coming up due really soon, like March, around before spring break. And so what we're doing, we're having seminars to help those students get those applications completed and submitted so they can meet the deadline.
Yeah, so as you can see here, if you weren't aware, so we have transfer coordinators at each of the major campuses. So we have Coleman, Central, Southeast, West Loop, Northline, and Spring Branch. And you could find, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat let's see, the way we prefer to be contacted through Career Hub. Eddie, do you want to show the students Career Hub in a moment?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. You want me to show them how to get to it first?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So while we're waiting for that, does any student in this meeting maybe have like a burning question, or you do know exactly what you want to do and what you want to pursue, or maybe you have no idea and you just kind of don't know where to get started? Anything like that would kind of help.
Hi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there like a preferred person for online only campus?
Yeah, I can help you with that. I mean, you can
Okay.
really go to any of the, you can contact all, because we all do appointments virtually. But yes, I am the assigned person for that. And kind of one thing that has kind of happened over the year, whether intended or not, is it's usually the students that come to me is kind of how I start to build that, I'll say database of information, right? Because if students are coming to me every day asking for online this program or online that program, then I kind of tend to like collect the data, as it were. But the answer is yes, I can help you with that. What program are you wanting to? Well, let's let Eddie show you Career Hub. This is how you can actually make an appointment with us.
Well, I'm gonna show you the easiest way that I always tell students to do it. My preferred way is to go to Eagle. And on here, it's going to show you, of course, if you guys have been at any school, I mean, you've been here for quite a minute, you've probably seen this page before. If you scroll all the way down, these are all resources that HC provides, but we are located here in Career Hub. If I click on it, it's going to look different from what you guys are going to see, but it will ask you to log in, and it's going to ask you a few career questions, like if you're looking for a job, just go ahead and answer them. We are connected with career services, so you are still going to see us. You are going to see our events, and you're going to see career services events as well. If I go here, yeah, it's going to look way different, and it's not even going to show.
Okay, I'm going to put in the chat how to make an appointment. Okay.
If it's okay, could I use someone's W number? I can definitely log into a student's Career Hub.
You can use mine.
Okay. So when you open up Career Hub and you answer the questions, this is going to pop up. This Career Hub. So up here, down here, you're able to see all the events that are going to come up. You're also able to see some of our like early application, as Ms. Walls did mention earlier. If you do want to see all the events, just click all events. And then it does show for the whole semester. If we do add new ones, mid-semester, midway, you are going to receive an email saying that we added new events to this. You're able to decide the type, when, attendance, and you of course have more filters. In order to do appointments, you're just going to go up here in the top right where it says schedule career/transfer appointments. And you can answer these questions as well. I won't answer them for this person, but once you go ahead and answer those questions, it's going to ask you with who you want to meet, location, what type of appointment. It's gonna ask you for time. I always recommend students just to select the type first, what type of appointment you want to have, and with what department. After that, decide of a person. If you are trying to look for a certain time, for example, for next week, I do recommend probably searching up for that specific time. I'll pass it
Perfect.
back to Paul.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so, well, now I really like to open it up for, any burning questions. I want to kind of start. Has anybody never seen a transfer guide here? And if not, what field of study were you wanting to get into?
I haven't, and I'm trying to transfer to either UT Permian Basin or Texas Tech for their online poli-sci degree program in the fall.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So one thing about Texas Tech is they have a dedicated transfer, like basically our counterparts. And so they're a really good resource to go into, mostly because they don't really publish any of their transfer guides. So we're going to focus on UT Permian Basin, meaning if you're like Heart of Hearts says to go to Texas Tech, then you definitely want to reach out to them sooner rather than later. But you said political science, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, political science. So let's see what I can find. Let's see. So the transfer guide that I hope to find will show you specific courses, right? And let's see, political science. So, okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so let's pull this up. So, all right, so what this does is gives you a breakdown. So to join your program, you have to do 42 credits. Okay, so the basics, right? But this is a great example because it's giving you a large list to pick from, right? And so an advisor can interpret this for you, aligning it to our degree plan. So I'll give an example. It kind of comes out to my mind is, let's see. So for example, so this section here where it says literature, that's the equivalent to our language, philosophy, and culture, right? So that kind of goes back to the example of you go, well, I want to do ethics. Can I take ethics for my degree plan? And the answer is yes, that's a true statement, right? But if the full sentence was, maybe should I take ethics, but I want to transfer to UT Permian Basin's online political science program, the answer would be no, you should choose from one of these. It still follows the same section. It's still a part of the basics, but very different, right? Very different. So let's see. So these are kind of interesting how they have these organized. So, so if you schedule an appointment with one of us, we can kind of help you interpret this. But to me, it's pretty straightforward. Some of these classes that you'll see where it goes to the 3,000, 4,000 levels, those you'll know that you are more than likely going to have to take those there because that means that it's a junior senior level class, where the ones and twos means that they'll accept it from community college or city college, right? That kind of thing. Any questions on this? Does make sense? They use our same numbering system also, so that should make it pretty easy. So hopefully you're sticking to this. Well, hey there, Diana. So we're just kind of really getting into the details, kind of giving you some examples of how conversations are, handled with us. So yeah, if you know where you want to transfer to and into what program, we can just kind of show you at least some initial steps. All we've gone over so far is, well, generally what we do, how to make an appointment with us, and then now we're just kind of digging into the burning questions that you might have.
I would like to say when you all schedule an appointment with us, it would be a great idea for you to have an idea of where you're wanting to transfer to, at least maybe 2 universities that you're interested in, versus coming in asking, where should I transfer to? Because we do want you all to do some research on your own, but at least give us an idea of what institution you're interested in. And then that will help guide the conversation when you have your appointment versus just coming in blanket with nothing. So ChatGPT can be your best friend to help you pull up, programs, and those university websites, because a lot of times the websites for the universities can be difficult to find information, and that's not just for you all, but for us as well. But when I use ChatGPT, it helps me find the links quicker and get to the information that is needed to provide you. Some things also, I think Mr. Ashton mentioned also that we can recommend you to some of the university reps. And a lot of those universities will have transfer advisors that you can schedule an appointment with, and they can give you more detailed information. So for instance, I had a student to come in, has already applied and just waiting on a response. And so after that student has applied, there's not really any assistance that I'm able to provide. So I did give them the university reps, admissions rep information, so they can contact them to see if they can give them any update information on their admissions application.
Yeah, great point. Because if you ask me where you should go, I'm just always going to recommend UHD because that's where I went, and I'm very biased. So just count on that.
Yes, this is really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We'll go ahead and throw this in the chats.
I think it's very good for those non-traditional students as well. But we also want to make sure that you all are aware of the application dates. Not all institutions use Common App. Not all use Apply Texas. So you want to be familiar with which application process you'll have to go through. But most importantly, when the deadline is for you to submit an application. So that's why we're having that early application seminar coming up this in February for those universities that have applications that are coming up.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, because a lot of students, we'll talk to 3 months into the semester, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to apply to so-and-so university," and it's like, "Oh, you missed that. That was 2 months ago." Also, some programs will only do applications once a year. So a lot of students come to me with medical programs, and they'll say, "I want to go to MD Anderson for radiography," and it's like, okay, well, you should have done that months ago. You'd had to have all the paperwork. Sometimes you have to have what is it called? Not referral letters. Where an instructor has to write you a recommendation letter. There we go, reference letter. That's right. So really, it's the devil's in the details. You wake up, you decide you want to go to UT, and you realize you're 2 months late and 3 recommendation letters short. Being prepared against that makes their conversations way less uncomfortable, in my experience.
Anyone else have any questions for us?
I'm trying to schedule an appointment,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't. When I go to click on that, oh wait, I think it is showing now.
Yeah, you have to get through two pretty lengthy type of surveys.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's kind of the biggest hurdle. Okay, so I like this question. What's the most common mistake students make when transferring? Usually it's that we're kind of mentioning before. It's usually the littlest things, right? It's not realizing that, oh, I didn't know that's what an official transcript was. I thought I could just get an official transcript and send that to them. And it's like, oh, well, what? No, you have to order it and you have to pay for it and it has to be there on time and it takes a while for it to process. So in my experience, I've had that. Again, speaking from my own experience, I talk to a lot of nursing students that are transferring, doing their academic prerequisites here, transferring directly into a BSN program. And they won't realize maybe their GPA is a little bit off, and they only applied to one school. So I'd say if I had to pick one, I would say it's not hedging your bets and applying to multiple colleges, especially for business programs. Bauer is very common of a conversation, and they'll be like, "Well, I really want to get into Bauer." And it's like, okay, well, you have to have a really good GPA. It's like, yeah, but Paul, I really want to get in. It's like, okay, I hear you. I'm not the one that makes the decision. I'm just advocating on your behalf. So, it's the matter of, if you put all your eggs in one basket and you don't get in, then what do? Right? You have to kind of start to scramble to find a backup when there's some perfectly good schools. There's TSU, there's, Prairie View, St. Thomas, UHD, Go Gators. There's a lot of online programs like Texas A&M Victoria has an online business program. There's just so many options available. And as you kind of Pam mentioned, it's good just to kind of do a cursory search just to see, like what business programs are offered online. Like Lamar University, Sam Houston, the list goes on.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that students fail to make is not doing their research. So for example, I had a student, again, wants to major in business, and wants to go to Rice. Well, he went to Rice to find out because a lot of their information is not online. So he had to go to the university to actually speak to someone, and found out that his first semester, they're not accepting the English, they're not accepting his math. So you have to do the research. I ran into a young lady who wants to major in nursing. Oh, I'm going to the community college and I'm for my first 2 years, and then I'm going to transfer to U of H for nursing. Well, at U of H for nursing, they require the bulk of their classes taken there. So all those classes that she was talking about taking at the community college, she would not have been able to get into U of H nursing because they want the bulk of the classes there. And if I'm not mistaken, they don't accept more than, I think, maybe 9 hours. And so that's a less than full time of taking classes. So you really need to do your research, and not just rely on, us or your advisors to provide you that information. You really need to do your research, and then we can help guide you along the way.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, even asking those questions to the people that you work with are a good example. Yeah, I think it's 5 classes, but even still, that's a year and a half of lost work if you decide to only go to U of H for nursing. Yeah, great point.
A little side note, if you are applying to a lot of universities, like Paul Ash did suggest, I do recommend reaching out to some of these universities and asking for an application waiver. I know UHD usually requires you to attend one of the seminars and they give you a waiver for free there. I think UH, a lot of times, if you email them, they will most likely send you a waiver. If not, they might have you do the same thing and attend one of their seminars.
And that's really helpful when you're looking at $50 plus per application if you're applying to more than one school. So that's helpful financially.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's very easy for me to say to apply to multiple schools because I don't have to spend any of that money. But it is good advice, not inexpensive advice. So, but we're talking about universities, so inexpensive probably won't be in your vocabulary for at least a few years, unfortunately. Depends on where you go. Let's go to U of H downtown. Go Gators.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to share, I think one of my first, back when I was an advisor, I helped a student through nursing the whole way. When you're advising, you're very much kind of focused on what's in front of you at the time. And I never asked them where they wanted to go. They just said they want to do nursing. And so I walked them through, and then they called me back crying, saying, "Why didn't you tell me that U of H only accepted 5 classes?" I don't remember what my answer was, but I think in my head I was like, I don't know, I didn't even. Why do I think to check? You know what I mean? My job is kind of getting you through here, and that kind of, I think, whether positive or negative, that's kind of, I think, the difference is advising is very much day to day. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of volume. We're allowed to kind of help you kind of pick your head up and look at what's the overall goal, right? Some things I tell students is working on that sentence, right? Of I'm doing a degree, or I'm doing my basics, or again, with the student was I'm going to the online Permian Basin political science program. That's a super specific destination, right? Where the others can kind of get you in trouble. So it's good, again, to have that conversation as early as possible.
Have you looked into any of the requirements or into the GPAs or deadlines?
Not yet. I've only tried to match up some of the classes with what I see in the degree plan, like in terms of prerequisites.
Good thing.
Okay.
So that's good. Have you been meeting with an advisor?
I met with one once, but we didn't really discuss this.
So perhaps meet with an advisor to ensure you are matching your classes accordingly.
Okay, you said
Okay.
health
Yeah.
administration.
Now, your
Yes,
course should be
that's
fine.
right.
Your course should be fine.
Or anyone else want to ask a very maybe specific question? Put us through our paces kind of thing.
I would like to ask at least the students that are attending, does anybody know what university they want to attend to?
I want to attend Texas Southern University, specifically their online healthcare administration program or degree.
Let's see, you said health administration, is that right?
Healthcare administration.
Okay, let's see. I think this is the same one. Administration.
There's like the option for online, or I think it is an online degree.
Let's take a look. Yes, well, it's gonna be the same requirements either way, but let me see if I can find their page. Yeah, TSU can sometimes be tricky because they have like two different depositories for their guides, and one of them does use our numbering system, and the other one uses theirs. Like here's an example. Here, I found two different ones. So if you look at this, you can kind of make some logical leaps, right? One more time.
I said that is the one I was looking at.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And I can show you some tools on kind of how to, interpret this, but you can make some logical leaps. Like college algebra is college algebra, right? Introduction computer. This is a good one why you want to kind of have the conversation early because I don't know if we have an equivalent because we don't offer this course anymore, COSC 1301, right? So that's a class where you would gasp, just kind of omit it and just kind of continue on with taking the other ones. So this is from their catalog, and for some reason, this is more accurate into our requirements. So put simply, again, you asked the question. This is a good answer to that question. What classes should you take and why, right? One thing is kind of interesting about TSU specifically is that they require specific creative arts courses, right? They have it explicitly listed there. And then I think that they do here also. Yeah, you see that specific ones. So there you go. I've worked with some students that, they did business here and they were like, what do you mean? You didn't tell me that I'd have to do these specific courses and I have to do them over. And I'm like, well, you didn't tell me you're going to TSU, that kind of thing. So again, the specificity is really where you kind of get at. Okay, and then Rosalinda, you want to go to UHD again?
Yes, it's the business administration.
Business administration. So let me get that page up. This one I think is going to be pretty straightforward if I can guess. Because all business programs, at least in the Houston area, kind of follow the same structure. So let's see, let me share my screen. Okay. So these are all going to be the same. Because, it says accounting, you're thinking, well, I didn't say accounting.
Right.
Finance, it's all the same thing. So if you look at this, you'll see the only difference is, and this is kind of a general sentiment with all business programs, is when you're in your first 2 years of going to college, what do you know about business, right?
Right.
Because if you look at the coursework, it's, math, English, history, government, philosophy. There's a lot of courses that aren't specific to the discipline, right? And then really the only thing that kind of departs from this is when you get to your third year spring semester, okay? So every business student is doing the same first 2 years. And then the first semester you're actually entered into the business program, you'll still be doing another layer of foundational work, right? Again, they're teaching you what the different disciplines in business do. And so from there, that's when you'll really finally get into your specific discipline. And even through there, you'll see you get to pick. So it's not all just like, taking a specific sequence. Like if you're interested in like, I don't know, tech finance, I really don't know anything about business at all, so don't take my advice from this. But if you're into like tech, oil and gas finance might be different than tech than, running a hedge fund. And that's really what these kind of get into. So if you are not on the Business Associates of Arts, you might want to talk to your advisor because this is the, that's the pathway. Also the same pathway for U of H, TSU follows it for the most part. Even Texas A&M, it's the same exact structure. Yeah, great question. Okay,
All right,
so
thank you for that.
Yeah, very welcome. And then Mancy, do you know what you want to pursue at U of H Maine? Let's see. Counting. Okay. Well, funny enough, same courses. I'll go ahead and attach the UHD, and then I'll go ahead and pull up the U of H. So yeah, so same answer. If you are not on the business AA, then you want to have a meeting with your advisor. So I'm going to give you that. And let's take a look at it. Let's see. Okay, pre-business. So again, this kind of is aiding to my narrative that there really isn't a difference, okay, up until you get to this point. And they kind of say it's thus. So this is the same courses. So if you're on the business AA, you're going to be taking all of these. Really not much to say. Biggest piece of advice, if you want to go to Bauer for Business, you need to have a very high GPA. 3.25 is what they require. Let's see. Oh, that's a different page. Let me try to find it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So what we're looking at here is what they're telling you is that the website will say to get to U of H, you must have I think it says 2.5. And I think they will do something called individual review. If it's lower than that, I think it has to be 2.25, something like that. So what this is telling you is that, okay, so you want to go to school for business. Yes, U of H says this, but the CT Bauer College of Business, there we go, requires all their students to have at least a 3.25 and a C or greater than in the mathematics course. But in reality, you have to have a much higher GPA than that because a lot of students with the minimum don't get in because they get beaten out by every student that had a 4.0. And for U of H, there's no like essay or anything like that. So they're pretty much just only looking at your GPA. Any questions on that? Anything makes you curious to see this? So yeah, and you'll see engineering used to have a very high level of requirements, and they've really dropped their standards for that, like in a good way. It means what they're finding is that students with lower GPAs tend to do a lot better than they expected. Okay, what's the best way to communicate with the transfer team there for smooth transfer? Well, that's a great question. So for U of H, their transferring process is very straightforward.
A little side note, a lot of times students think that UH and UHD are the same university. They're not. They're two different two different universities.
Yeah, back in my day, before I went there, they used to be extensions, but well, now they're not. Have you thought about which program you want to do there? Much like a well-oiled machine. So let's see. Let me show you. So the only real contact you're going to have is through the admissions department, but they're not going to tell you much. They're just going to say, did you send in the stuff, send in your transcript? Sometimes transcripts won't be matched up to profiles. That's really the only issue that you might have with the admissions process, but it's pretty straightforward. What I've found to be the case for a lot of students telling me is that U of H doesn't really communicate with you until you're in the system, right? Until you have a student ID. Not unlike HCC, right? Like we'll have a conversation with you, but we're not really going to get down into the details unless you have some kind of presence. So we can kind of get, credit for it, right? With U of H, they're really going to push you to these resources and applying to get really any information. Was that kind of the question you're asking, or maybe something different? Show the basic transfer page. Okay, perfect.
Another thing
So-
about UH, when a lot of people, when a lot of students say they want to go to U of H main, they want to go to the main campus. Just so you know, some of the programs are held on the other two campuses that UH does own. So UH does own a campus in Sugarland, and you might have to go all the way over there.
I think they have business classes out there also. And yeah, some engineering programs are only there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's where they have their nursing program. And so that's kind of how, let's see, that's kind of how UHC used to be back in the day. Let's see. Yeah, great question. Fun stuff, right, everyone? Anything else that we can help you with? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Hi, I just had a quick question. If I'm trying to make sure my classes are done at the end of summer. If I transfer to UH and then I find out that HCC finally is offering a bachelor's in business, does it make sense to transfer back, or do you advise waiting a little bit to see if HCC has implemented a bachelor in business? What's your advice?
That's a good question. I'm going to give maybe two pieces of maybe conflicting advice, maybe two. It's my understanding that it's going to be a general business. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a BAAS. Okay, so well, question to you is: are you getting a business AAS, or are you getting the business AA? And there's a big difference between the two. Do you know which one you're getting? If you don't mind sharing.
I think it's the BAS, the one where the classes can transfer.
Okay, got it. So the business AA. Okay. So the program that we're developing here for business, if I'm not mistaken, is a workforce business program. Okay, so you'll see in our catalog that we'll have a general business AAS, or we'll have finance or banking or accounting. And those are all workforce degrees, meaning that those degrees are a 2-year degree that is purpose is to get you into the job, and then you just do that job, right? The plan you're on, the business AA, is meant for the typical bachelor's sequence, okay? But what we're developing is a bachelor's for those students that have the workforce business degrees. Does that make sense? So in your case, if you are trying to get a typical bachelor's, it wouldn't make sense because you probably wouldn't qualify for it, because it's structured the same way as our artificial intelligence and our healthcare management, is that you have a workforce associates, you get a bachelor's. Does this make sense? So they're structured completely differently.
Okay. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, no problem. It's a common misconception, because that's kind of why I harped on it multiple times. Like if you're trying to go to the University for Business AA, period, right? And if it's not, you need to get changed to that, because that's really the only pathway. Kind of further build a narrative.
That's sad because I love HCC. That's sad because I love HCC. That's really sad. I'm like, I need to wait HCC out and see if they're going to offer bachelor's. And now with what you're saying,
well,
okay.
You might be waiting for a while, because whenever they announce it, we were joking, we go, wow, in 5 years it's going to be a great program, because these things do take time. So just with that alone, I would recommend waiting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And to kind of, again, further explain the difference between, academic and narrative, or workforce and academic, is that an academic degree is to do just that. Like, so an academic has to understand how to read and write at a college level. They have to understand the history of the country, the way the government works, know a little bit about arts, a little bit about sciences. So purely academic, right? And then once you've proven yourself as an academic, then you get access to the good stuff, right? In whatever discipline you want to do. Whereas a workforce, again, is just when you do accounting, you learn how to be an accountant, do payroll, be very productive, but you're not required to do those academic coursework. So yeah, just kind of explaining the differences a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, any other questions, concerns? You can be as specific as you'd like to be.
Someone's typing.
I wait with anticipation. I love sharing with students is look up the foreign exchange programs that they'll have. There's a lot of study abroad opportunities, especially for business. And a lot of students that I talk to don't really take advantage of it. Same thing with scholarships. Let's see, what are disadvantages to non-academic degrees? Okay, that's a good question. So that's going back to me talking about workforce versus academic. Well, since we're the transfer team, we're definitely going to be, I guess, more focused on the academic, because the academic is really the first 2 years of a bachelor's degree, right? So the advantage of an academic is you get to transfer, and then you get to your bachelor's, you get your master's, your doctorate, so on and so forth. A non-academic degree, like a workforce degree, well, I would say it kind of depends. I wouldn't put it necessarily as a disadvantage, because if you're somebody who needs a job and you need qualifications, and then you get the job, then get to work and be productive. I don't know. I don't see what the downside is. One thing that kind of came to mind is like radiography, because I'm at Coleman, so we have a radiography program. Well, there's also bachelor's of radiography, right? The disadvantage to those is well, they're both radiographers, so they both get paid only like 80, 90K a year to start off with, right? So even in the fact with the radiographer, if they try to go get a bachelor's degree to further their career, they'll tell them at the university, like, why? That you're already doing the job, you're getting paid really well. The only advantage is you can get into the administration part of it, right? So that's just kind of one example, because I guess to further encapsulate it, a workforce degree gets you a job. What's the downside of that? That was more or less rhetorical, I guess, but yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so one thing I kind of want to show that, let's see, scholarships is usually a question that comes up that I don't really think we went into much at all. So scholarships are, for the most part, very easy to apply to. A lot of students will kind of bellyache a little bit about like, well, it took me 3 hours. I have to write an essay if I don't get it. I go, yeah, but if you get it, you spent 3 hours, you made $1,000. That's a little bit more than I make, right? So I'll use U of H as an example, but generally speaking, there is a deadline and an application to do. So let's use U of H as an example. Okay. So all you need to do for most scholarships is log on to the portal, fill out the information, produce an essay, and then you get to hear back. Some are set up where you do one application and it applies to all that you can. Like it'll give you all the it'll give you all the scholarships that you can are eligible for, right? But then some of them are based on which program you're in, and some of them will be external. They have to apply to each individually. Okay. Most universities have some scholarship for transfer students. Okay. Look at that, $1,000 to $2,000 per year. That's not nothing, right? It's not nothing. Usually you have to have at least a 3.0, enough transfer credits. And then, I mean, look at that, $3,000 just for looking at a web page. And then some of them are even easier that you have to do your FAFSA first, and then they'll just go ahead and apply. So they really kind of run the gamut. Some are very straightforward. Some of them do all the work for you. Some of them you have to apply to each of them individually, but free money. And students, from what I hear from university representatives, apply less and less each year. They just think it's a bother. They're not going to get it. And what they'll find is the one person that applies to it gets it. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. So that's more common than you'd think.
Do you have any other questions to ask this wonderful group of people? If not, we are going to give you like 9 minutes of your time back, give you time to transition to whatever you're doing at noon. And we want to thank all of you for coming. We want to thank Paul and well, I'll admitting that we're signing off at the moment. I want to thank all the transfer department for coming today, and thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.